It's round 2. This race has the most turns and it's the highest street circuit on the calendar this year. Race on, and Alonso steals it out of the first corner. You can't make this up. Alonso started in second place. In theory, he had the best route to running to overtake Perez, but he stole it as the race started and it got messy. We also saw a few overtakes behind. Alonso had to serve a 5-second penalty because he wasn't where he needed to be. Race control were quick to penalise him on that, as we saw in the last race with Ocon, where he had to serve a 5-second penalty while serving another 5-second penalty. Lance Stroll didn't make it easy for Carlos Sainz either, because he overtook him on 10:13 in the first lap. Come on, Aston Martin. You lot are making this race so much more enjoyable to watch, because all we're seeing is Aston Martin, Aston Martin, Aston Martin. Yes, the odd penalty here, but the first lap in itself gave what the race is going to look like. Leclerc was privileged enough to gain three places in the first 2 laps, so he started in 12th, and by the end of the second lap, he'd got far enough to give Lewis Hamilton some issues. Perez, man like Checo, steals the first place back, because that's what you expect from a driver like this. He is nicknamed the quickest street circus driver on this grid, and he's gone to prove that, because he stole his first place back. I say steal, he took first place back and he's running with it. We've seen some great overtakes from Charles Leclerc, and he's now giving car 44 some run for its money, whilst arguably these two drivers on different tyres. Hamilton's on a hard tyre, Leclerc's on the soft tyre, which means Leclerc has more grip than Hamilton because he's on a softer tyre, but driving IQ then comes into it. You've got a seasoned pro versus someone who's still struggling to find his way into points in 2023. This race is going to be interesting for these two. And the battle of the pit stops. Ferrari, being the sneaky buggers they are, they tell Sainz to box. Unbeknown to them, Aston Martin were listening in, and Stroll boxes, Sainz doesn't. And when Stroll does box, they put him in a hard tyre, and he then comes out in 11th place. And it only went downhill from there for Aston Martin and Lance Stroll, because a couple of laps later, a full safety car's blown out because Lance Stroll has stopped. Something's gone wrong with his car. It looks like an overheating brake issue. Stroll's out, which means that everything now leans on Alonso to bring it home for Aston Martin. It's starting to look very much like it's going to finish a Red Bull 1 and 2. Lap 26 brings a surprise. Albon's forced to retire out because of a brake failure, and then he limps it for another 2 laps. And I guess that's only given advantage to the teams that were already at the front, because he was at the back slowing down traffic. George then gets told to move out the way, which I guess he has to. He's got the slower tyres. And when you look at who his teammate is, only time will tell how this battle's going to play out. I'm seeing a Hamilton-Rosberg situation coming out of here, because George is stubborn, but Hamilton's equally as stubborn. And if these two are given free reign to race, we're in for some battles in 2023. Towards the end of the race, we see Verstappen and Checo both complaining about some weird noises. First, Verstappen talks about that he's getting some weird noise in lap 38 over the drive shaft issue that forced him out of qualifying yesterday. A lap later, Perez says he's having braking issues. So they're both told to hold fire, but towards the end of the race, they're told, boys, as you were, keep racing because we need the points. And within that little circle of influence, they're both fighting for fastest lap, which Verstappen doesn't get till lap 50, which means Perez carried fastest lap from lap 1 to lap 49, which is unheard of, to see a driver go from first to the end carrying the fastest lap. Again, we see controversy around Alonso's 5-second penalties towards the end of the race, with George and Hamilton fighting over a place, and George saying, well, Fernando needs to serve a time penalty, but doesn't serve a time penalty, or is still in controversy, because from what we can tell from his pit stop, one of the mechanics touched the car with a jack well before the 5 second was up. So this will only be an after race incident where they'll tell us whether or not he needs to serve that 5-second penalty, and if it does, that then moves everything within the pecking order. Not only has he served 5-second penalty, he'll be penalised again, which means if he finishes in the points, he'll be further down in the ranking, which means he carries less points for his team. Biggest movers of the day were Leclerc, who started off in 12th, ended up in 6th. Verstappen, my god, this guy drove for his life. He started off in 15th and ended up in 2nd. And as if it was the Perez takes checkered flag, Verstappen in 2nd, and a controversial Alonso in 3rd. It's been one hell of a race in Jeddah. We look forward to seeing what comes off the rest of the season. I've been TC. This is Lover of Cars. Follow, like, share for more F1 content like this.